What's the one thing that can be just as important as saying the right thing in a business transaction? It's not saying the wrong thing. Today's video, we'll walk through 5 things you definitely do not want to say while pursuing the exit of your business. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, managing partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market, M&A, investment banking, capital advisory firm, helping companies generating $1 million to $10 million in pre-tax profit, sell their businesses, or to find capital. So in going through the process of selling a business, there's going to be lots of dialogues from the very get-go of presenting the opportunity to the market, through negotiating with counterparties, through the formal diligence process. And while largely that's going to be conducted by an investment banking firm, whoever your advisor is, there will be some dialogues, particularly as things evolve post-letter of intent or post-offer being agreed upon, that are going to involve you as a seller. Through all of these different transactions, we have worked hand in hand with our client to make sure that we're always putting forth the right narrative, we're always putting forth the right messaging. However, from time to time, we do hear horror stories from other engagements and want to at least communicate that to emphasize what things probably best not to say. So the first of these is, if it wasn't for me, nothing would happen here. It is important to be the founder of the company. It is important to be the leader of the company. However, what you don't want to communicate is that if you were not involved with the business, the whole thing would just fall apart. There's an expression of key man or key woman risk in a business, that being the risk a business has that if that one leader is not there, that there aren't sufficient processes, that there aren't sufficient standard operating procedures to ultimately allow the business to continue to be successful. Now, if you're a buyer of the business and you assume that part of the reason why you're buying it is so that the founder or leader can transition out of the business over some period of time, you never want to hear that this person, if they leave, is going to topple the business. And so while it is important to emphasize the importance of that person, you never want to say, if it wasn't for me, nothing would happen here, or if I wasn't around here, the whole thing would fall apart. To that point, the second thing you don't want to say is, the moment this deal is done, I'm out of here. Everybody knows that if you are trying to sell a business, that there is a next season in life. There is a next chapter in life. There is a reason why you want to sell it, and plans for things you want to do. Even if you're going to be still involved with the business to some extent, there's a next season of life to pursue. And so that's all fine. But you do not want to give the impression that the moment the check clears, you're going to buy a Ferrari and disappear down to the Baja. You want to make it clear that the emphasis is on ensuring a smooth transition of the business such that the next iteration of ownership will be successful in their operating of the business. And so while you can say, I can't wait for this next chapter of life, I can't wait for this next season of life, and the facilitation of that via this process, you don't want to say, give me the money and I'm getting the heck out of here. Number 3, you don't want to say, I don't know how X process works. I don't know how X thing happens. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be in the absolute weeds for every element of the business. If you have management in place, you can say, Bob runs this particular division and can discuss the specifics of how this one element of the company works. Mary does this other element of the business, and she can tell you how that portion of the operations, the sales, fulfillment, whatever it is, works. But you don't want to say, I don't know, I'm clueless, I don't have my finger on the pulse. While, again, to one extreme, you don't want to be seen as the person that is pulling every single string and that the business can't operate without. You also don't want to be seen as clueless or not having an idea of how certain things work. So pointing people in the right direction, bringing in the particular, call it area expert or subject matter expert into it is fine. But you do not want to say, I don't know, I have no idea how that actually happens. Number 4 is, you don't want to say, we've tried to market this business every single way and we've just saturated the market. Now, in reality, almost every business in the world has billions of dollars of revenues. I mean, there's billions of dollars of paper clips being bought every year. There's billions of dollars of landscaping services. There's billions of dollars of software being purchased or leased. So again, as we say, whether it's doorknobs or donuts, there's billions of dollars of market. So for any company that is getting $10 million of a particular market, or $50 million or $100 million of a market, you never want to make the impression of, we are saturated the market, because either A, they're going to say, you don't really know how big this market is and it's going to diminish your appearance of expertise in the market, or B, they're going to believe you and say, well, you've already squeezed the lemon, why do we want to buy it? So in either case, that's not a good outcome. So what you want to say is, these are the tactics that we've utilized to get market share. This is how much market share we have. These are perhaps the challenges that we've faced in getting more market share. However, what you don't want to say is, well, we've got all of it that there is and there's no more, because either A, they're going to feel like you don't really have your arms around it, if you're not grasping just how big the market is, and therefore they'll start to say, well, what other things aren't you certain about in the business? Or B, they're going to agree with you and say, well, why do we want it then? Neither case is good. Number 5 goes into the projection side of things. You never want to say, I think we are going to, and then insert crazy projection. And crazy projection could be, I think we're going to 10x business in the next 45 minutes. I think we're going to go from $3 million in profit to $5 billion in profit. Right? That's fine if you have a path that you could say, hey, look, over a 50-year period, over a 30, over a 20-year, 5-year period, whatever it is, all of these amazing things could happen. That's okay. But what you really have to show is, here is the path that we think is readily, highly achievable. Call it the fat of the bell curve of probabilities. And then here are kind of the tail end. These are the things that could really make it. Maybe you don't want to highlight the bad tail end of how bad things could get. God forbid a bunch of bad things happen. Maybe you do want to highlight how the good side of the bell curve could be. And hey, look, in this outcome, we could have an exponential growth here. That's great. But you don't want to make it sound like that's the only future that you perceive, because you're going to look like a bit of a dreamer. And again, that dreamer mentality is somewhat necessary to make the business successful in the first place, but you do have to say, what are the realistic kind of down the strike zone, down the fairway, down the middle of the pitch projections for the business, and then here are the catalysts, here are the things that could give it meaningful upside. But you don't want to just say, oh yeah, piece of cake, you know, if I make 10 more phone calls next year, we'll be Amazon, no sweat. Because it detracts, again, from some of the credibility relative to the projections. And then again, if you say crazy things about one thing, they're going to say, well, what else are they saying crazy things about? Are these employees as good as they say? Are the processes as waterproof as possible? Or as waterproof as they indicate? So you just want to be congruent in that messaging. And so, if you're stuck around this long, we have one more bonus thing that you definitely don't want to say in the process or when you're selling a business, and that is, I'm only going to sell my business if you give me an offer that I can't refuse. If that's how you feel, then don't sell the business. It's not worth the exercise. It's not worth the process. And every time we talk to every single buyer on every single deal, the first conversation we have with them, they'll say, what are the expectations for the business? And so we don't want to put out a price for the company that we're selling. However, what we do like to provide is some guidance. And oftentimes that'll just be, look, the market is in this direction of multiples, and we're hoping to get an aggressive offer based on the higher end of that market. That's fine to say. We can say we want an aggressive offer. We're not going to do something unless we really feel captivated to do it. However, if you say, hey, I'm only going to sell it to a moron who's willing to pay way more than it's worth, then again, what are you communicating? That you're going to be very difficult to sell, and that you are already assuming they're an idiot if they do it. There's that old T. Boone Pickens quote, if you want to do a deal real bad, you do a real bad deal. And hey, it happens from time to time, but again, if you're in a situation where you're selling a business, aim for the meat of the strike zone, and if you get the upside, right, try to hit the 270-yard drive, and maybe you really clobber it and you one shot it to the green. But in business, you don't want to start off with that. You don't want to come off so hard on that negotiation that people say, why bother? It's not even worth it. So what we say is, if you are willing to go out and contemplate selling your business for a very fair, and what we mean by very fair, a very full value, but maybe you even get the crazy price, then that's good. But if the only thing that would ever make you want to do something is the crazy, crazy, crazy price and the crazy spectrum, the crazy end of the crazy spectrum, just don't do it. It's not worth it. Stay focused on growing the business, and when the time comes that you feel more ready to do it then. Now again, we want to be as aggressive as humanly possible when selling these businesses. We want to get the craziest price that we possibly can, and all of crazy, forget the word crazy, but we want to get the most aggressive terms that we possibly can. And we do that. But if we go out there and a buyer says, what's the expectations? And we say, only ridiculous offers are desired here, they're just going to say no thanks. So that's a thought for today. Let's recap these really quick. 5 things not to say when selling your business, 1 bonus. The first of these being, if it wasn't for me, nothing would happen. The second, the day this deal is done, I'm out of here. The third, I don't know how X works or happens. The fourth, we've done everything we can and we've saturated the whole market. And the fifth, I think we will do insert crazy projection. And bonus, I'll only sell the company if we get an absolutely stupid price. And so keep these things in mind. Obviously a little bit of tongue-in-cheek here. However, if you're engaging in the process of selling your business, there will be a point in time in which you will get involved with some of the communications, likely later on if things are managed appropriately, such as not spending your time on the front end of things. But when you do have those communications, it's important sometimes just as much as what you do say is what you don't say. And these are some thoughts to consider. So I hope the week's getting off to a good start for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless, and we'll see everyone next time.